Good morning, everybody. January 31, last day of the month. It's Friday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Got to get ready for paid housing expense. Yeah. So I got to move some money today. Your epidemic sound instrumental music or royalty-free, no copyright on the music. So we picked it to be our background. No voices, just the instrumental. The track is actually a little over 3 hours long. We won't be that long. Give you a break on Friday. So it's a tie between the plane crash in Washington, D.C. and the Hamas releasing, hostages. It's a mess. The ratio is 50 of their prisoners for one hostage. So if they release 3, so 150 hostages get released. That Israel has. They're not hostages, they're, enemy combatants. They were killing Israeli soldiers. So they grabbed them, in a raid. They're not hostages. The Israeli hostages were regular folks at a concert. They weren't war people. And these guys came in there and cut their heads off. Grabbed 120 of them. Dragged them in by their hair, whatever. Disgusting. Barbarians. Man's inhumanity to man. Oh boy. Well, welcome to our simulcast. Broadcasting across 3 social networks simultaneously. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter Live, aka X. How about that for a bunch of letters? So it's a tie between hostages and a deadly crash regarding Washington National Airport. Yeah. The pilot wanted to land on runway 1. And the tower, the air traffic controller said, take number 33. It's really 330, but they only use 2 digits. So it's 33. Because it's like a... Let me add... oh, there you go. So it's like a clock. You know. Runway 33 is like this. So it's landing, you know, north-northwest, an angle that way. Runway 1 would be straight up and down. So the tower shifted them from runway 1 to runway 33, and you know, if your aunt had you know what, she'd be your uncle. You can say, well, the air traffic controllers left them to runway 1. The plane would have just glided straight in. To get onto that runway 33, the pilot had to do a little, you know, change in direction, which of course ended up in a crash-a-rooney with the helicopter. You know, the big jets, when they're on an approach to a runway, they're on a glide path of, a 5-degree, descent. And they've cut their engines back in rotation, tending to slow the airplane down because runway 33 is a slightly shorter runway, so now it's a small aircraft, so it has plenty of runway to reverse the engines and do a heave-ho on the brakes. I was looking for a quickie on the runways. Well, I don't know if you've been watching these. There we go. This is good enough. See, now runway 1 goes straight along this way. This runway right here. So he's coming in this way. You just slide over a little bit, get lined up. But to get angled over, to get to this runway, he's got to come around, and that's where the helicopter, and the reason why their airplane, in a glide path, is because they get themselves set. Pilot takes control, and he is laser focused on getting himself lined up. The winds were gusty, so that has a tendency to change the direction a little bit of the aircraft. So he has to dip one wing or the other to make sure he doesn't get knocked off his course. And yeah. And you can see in the video that they played 1,000 times yesterday. You can see the big bright light you see is the runway light that's turned on, by the airplane landing, and it's got a big bright aircraft landing light. It's a 20 amp light. And he's all lined up, getting ready to, he's at about 300 feet coming in, dropping, rapidly. On a descent, speed is slowing down, flaps are down, landing gear is down. So he's ready to hit the runway. Bam! All of a sudden he gets smacked, from a helicopter that's at the wrong altitude. They shouldn't be at the same elevation, The aircraft is going from, say 400 feet to 0 feet, in a matter of 30 seconds, at a 6-degree pitch down, 6-degree angle down. So they have the right of way. His engines are, not revved up. They're decreasing, the fan jets to a slower speed. And if you pull back, on the engines, or push it forward, to speed it up, it takes, it might take 15 seconds to rev those engines back up, to where there's any thrust. They're like thrusting, because they're gliding down onto the runway. And, takeoffs are relatively easy. Landings are a little more tricky, because you have to have the right sense of where the engines need to be and where you are, so that your wheels touch down, in the first 15% of the runway. And then you got the whole rest of the runway to brake, including, reversing the engines. The engines actually don't reverse. You just, they have flow distractors that block the flow from the rear part of the engine, so that the air circles around back. The air is coming this way, so you're tending to blow in the reverse direction, which tends to break the plane, slow down the plane. So when they say reverse the engines, they don't really mean to reverse the rotation of the engine, because that's a one-way street. They rotate, in one direction only. And the fans, basically blow air aft, behind the plane. Goes in the front, out the back. You cut the rotation of the engines So instead of them spinning up at 20,000 RPM, throwing out, tons of air out the back, action, reaction, slow the engines down. So, not off. You slow them down to 8 or 10,000 RPM, whatever you need to. So, aircraft slows down from 220 miles an hour. You come in, you're kind of coasting into the airport, getting clearance. You can't slow the engines down too much, because the air traffic controllers say, we want runway X instead of Y, and you may have to do a complete loop around the airport to get to that particular runway, or they change the directions of the runway because of wind shifts. So that's an extra procedure. So you don't want to spin the engines down too slow, because you may have to spin them back up again because of the air traffic controllers. Because they control what goes on at the airport. You do what they say, or otherwise to your peril. And when you got 64 souls at stake, including yourself, in a multi-million-dollar aircraft, you want to settle that aircraft on the runway, the way you learned how to do it. The pilot has, 500 hours. The co-pilot has 1,000 hours of flight experience. That's, 40, 50, 100 takeoff and landings. Yeah. We learn how to fly an airplane. You have a qualified instructor. I had an instructor. He was teaching me how to fly a small, single prop Westno 150, something like that. And because the guy across the hall in my dormitory, he said, "Hey, wahoo!" His door is open. Comes over to my room. I think it was in the morning. He says, "Hey, look here what I got." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I just got my instructor, my pilot's license, instructor license." I said, "Oh, really? How nice." He says, "You want to be my first student?" I said, "Okay. What's my survival rate?" He says, "Not to worry. We won't do landings on the first day. We might do takeoffs if you want." I said, "Hey, I'm game. You got your license. You must know how to do it, and you must have learned how to teach it." I'm go for that. He said, "Yeah, here's the deal. I charge you nothing for the training, since you're my first guinea pig." He said, "But let's split the price of the gasoline to fill up the airplane." I said, "Okay. How many gallons to fill the airplane?" He said, "It costs about $25 to fill it up. So you'll be in for about $12, $13. I said, "All right. Let's book it." So we had some pilot training in a Cessna 150 for a whole semester. Yeah. Every airplane has a different, glide path, the ratio of the power of the engines to the area of your wings. And jet airplanes basically have smaller wings because they have so much power in the jet engines. So the glide ratio is like 1 to 9. Like for every 1 mile forward, you drop 9 miles down. So 9 miles is about the highest, matter of fact, it's too high for, an airplane like the Cessna 150. It's, designed for 8,000 foot elevation, 9,000 is a push, with regard to temperature and so forth. You get higher than that, you got to pressurize the airplane, so that you don't pass out with the thin atmosphere. So they pressurize the aircraft. They keep you at 6 or 7 psi. Down on the ground, it's like 14.7 pounds per square inch at standard temperature and pressure. Yeah. So when you climb in an airplane and start going up, your ceiling for a small aircraft like this, is like 5,000 or 6,000 feet. And, the air traffic controllers will probably throw you up to between 5,000 and 6,000 feet. Yeah. So now the Fox News people are going to go for a helicopter ride, simulating, how they were interacting with the airport. They didn't mention, so the helicopter's coming, at the airplane. At 110 miles an hour. Plane is like 130 miles an hour and slowing. Just remember, they're spinning down the engines so they don't overshoot the runway. So they're vulnerable because they're not in a power mode where the engines are running at 80%. They bring them down to like 40%. And when you rapidly increase the engine speed, it takes, there's no rapidly, anything with these jets. It takes a while before you slow down. It takes a while before you speed up. Same thing with a train. If the conductor wants to increase the train speed, he pushes the lever forward, right? And it may take 30 seconds before the train gets to the speed you want. And it's the same thing with a jet. If the air traffic controllers call you off the landing, so then you spin up the engines, even slowing down from 130 miles an hour. Now all of a sudden you want to speed up, right? Because you got to throw enough air over the wings in the flap position so that you can climb out of the landing pattern because of something's on the runway or whatever. They keep on saying, well, the helicopter is approaching the airplane at 110 miles an hour. The sucker can stop. Helicopters can, hover. Yeah. They never mention that. Pull back and just hover. Stop your forward progress. Helicopters can do that. They can turn around and go back the other way. Which is probably what apparently there was the helicopter was like turning. It was probably the pilot reacting to the last 2 seconds before he smacked into this airliner. Oh, God. That's a killer. So he T-boned the airplane. Broke it into two pieces, and, the two pieces probably broke into 3 pieces when it hit the water. Yeah. Terrible. And there's only one flight recorder, by the way, in case anyone from NBC or Fox News is listening, because they don't have black boxes in military aircraft. No, sir. The only black box you're going to get is the one that's in the airliner. And since, it dropped into, the 3 pieces dropped, into the Potomac, which is only like 4 feet deep, 5 feet deep, is just deep enough so the pieces weren't sticking out of the water when company showed up. Yeah. So, half the plane was full of, skating teams. And so there were 15 or 20 to-be professional skaters. Yeah. So, they could have told the so the air traffic controllers didn't really, you got all kinds of aircraft flying around. I mean, it's a busy, Washington, D.C. is like a major hub for, people coming and going. And when the tower radioed, to the helicopter, he basically said, you got some air traffic in front of you. He didn't say look at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. That's all he said quickly on the UHF radio. And of course, the military radio frequencies are different than the frequencies, on American, I won't say American, jet aircraft. Those channels are, VHF spectrum. Military UHF spectrum, a little higher frequency. So the tower speaks on 2 different radio frequencies, and the planes unless you communicate between the helicopter and the jet aircraft, one of the two would have to activate their radio. And if you want to communicate with the helicopter, you'd have to go to a UHF frequency and give a shout out, and then set a plan on what frequency you want to jointly speak at. Come on down to VHF at 135. So that's what they would do, assuming the helicopter can change to the civilian frequencies, so to speak. Civilian as opposed to military. Yeah. But, the Pentagon is straight ahead. You got the Arlington National Ceremony, which would be a big green spot. You got all kinds of lights. 9 o'clock at night, you got all kinds of lights lit up. Street lights lighting up signages. Yeah, I think Robin took us, to the end of the runways, over between. I'll put the red dots right in the middle of my screen. So, whoops. Reverse pinch, and then we got the 2 red dots on the screen. So we were on like this kind of a road, right near the water. And right across this highway, this is the main highway, a freeway. So we were right here. I set the spot right in the middle of the display. We were watching planes take off and land from that location. There's the White House right here. Right where that red dot is. You can see the National Mall and the U.S. Capitol. They're in a straight line right across, directly across the screen. Yeah. And the White House straight up and down, perpendicular to the National Mall. Buildings are packed in there. They're big buildings. You wouldn't tell from this map. This is quite a wide angle map here. That's disgusting. The helicopter was flying too high. He shouldn't be at 300, 400 feet. He should be at 100 feet. And he should be coming, south of what we're looking at. So he gets behind the plane. He's not going to try to race and get in front of the plane, because he's dropping altitude, so he's got to, he's not flying level. He's gliding in for an approach to an airport, for God's sakes. The military aircraft was definitely at fault. You know, he's the one coming from the north with this crazy flight path. So he started turning right over Washington National, and the control tower says, get back in the, in line with where you were. Should have told him to drop altitude. The air traffic controllers, they were supposed to have 31. They're supposed to have a full complement of 31 people in the control tower at the same time, simultaneously. Staff of 31. They only had 19. So they're like 40% down in head count. You can divide the percentages any way you want. You're supposed to have 31 and you got 19. That's a lot of people that are missing. Now, maybe a couple called out sick, and the others are, everyone has to work harder because, they haven't hired 5 people yet, let's just say. So half the people called in sick, and half of them haven't been hired yet because they just can't get the talent to apply, and they've been applying this, diversity, equity crap. Diversity, equity, inclusion. DIE. What does that spell? Die. Ouch. So, there'll be a lot of talk about this air accident. The military needs to do their training missions somewhere else. Let them fly out to, Dulles Airport. That's, like 30 miles. It's not that big a ride out of the way. But that's a bigger airport, and they can accommodate the training a little bit better. They don't have as many, not as many TOs out of that airport per minute. That is. Yeah. I've flown into both airports. I know there's a lot of helicopter activity. There shouldn't be, the reason why is because they got helicopters to take, the high-priced dignitaries, like the president and the vice president and the, Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Navy. You got a lot of these secretaries, serious, important people. And they each, can be riding in a helicopter across town. They got a meeting with the president, so they got to fly over, somewhere near the White House grounds to, I guess on the South Lawn. You'd land in there, right in the middle of that green area just south of the red dot that's in the screen middle. Yeah. So between, the Pentagon, the U.S. Capitol, and the White House, and the Reagan the Ronald Reagan Washington Airport, you've got helicopters flying all over the place. Experienced, but they got to watch out for the, air traffic over the Washington National Airport. Yeah. So that resonate over the news and the weekend news. As they got 42 bodies of the 64 bodies. Hopefully, all the bodies are stuck in the wreckage. Black Hawk was flying too high. A lot too high. The aircraft was the American Airlines flight path at 8:48. The airplane was at 350 feet. Now that's too high for a helicopter. And the military people should know that and shouldn't have been at 350 feet because that's when they crashed. Now, are they trying to get up high enough so they fly over the airplane rather than under it? They can stop. They can slow down a lot. A helicopter, can hover. You can hover at 200 feet. Just slow down and let the American Airlines, fly past them. Pass right in front of them. Just slow down. Bring your pace down to, your forward direction down to 40 knots instead of 100 knots. And there's no crash. But no, he was trying to, keep his forward motion the same and change his altitude. And, maybe he's pulling up and the airplane is pulling down. And between the two, you end up with a tie. You don't want a tie. Let one of them win. You don't want a tie. That's when things go boom. And everyone dies. And the helicopter had no transponders. And for the air traffic control people to allow, helicopters anywhere near this airspace is, pretty stupid. I don't know how else to call it. That's just plain stupid. And that's what happens when you have a tower that's half full or running on 60% of the personnel that you need. So you've got one guy handling both the helicopter and the American Airlines flight coming in from Kansas. They're gliding in, the ride's over. Getting ready to land. Tray tables are up. And you're just coasting in. Who would think that, 1,000 feet before you get to the airport, goes boom right over the goddamn Potomac River. Jeez. So the president says, screw this DEI stuff, or the DIE stuff. We want the best people possible in the air traffic control station. We want the smartest and the best people available. You're not going to take let's just be, excuse the shortcuts, but instead of reducing the standards to let in some particular race that you're trying to push, from the government standpoint, from the Biden administration standpoint, you don't reduce standards to admit a particular group of people that are not represented in the population of the, the people that are already in the, in the tower, air traffic control tower. You do not reduce the standards. You keep the standards right where they are, and whoever qualifies, you take the best of them. Mental capacity, whatever characteristics they add up, you got to take the best, period. And Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, is now saying the same thing. We want the best of the best, period. And the same goes for all our troops. We want the best. We're not dropping any standards to allow in different ethnic groups or different colors. No way. We just want the best. This is not a paper products company. Where you just take, you mix and match different ethnicities with different this and that, and who cares? You're packing tissue paper in boxes. You don't have lives at stake. Every 5 seconds, one way or the other, is life or death at an airport. Everyone's got to be focused on what they're doing. And you can be sure that when you in a twin-engine jet airplane, I don't care if it's a DC-9 or, or a 777 or a 747. I don't know if a 740, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I think, 747 can take off from Reagan National. You'd probably land there too. You'd have to be on runway 1. Because I believe runway 1 is the longest runway to accommodate this big aircraft. It's huge. It's really huge. Yeah, God. The pilot sits like 35 feet above ground level. So it's like flying a 3-story office building. Just put wheels on a 3-story office building. And you're sitting over the front landing gear. You're right on top of the front landing gear. It's quite a look down, to see where the ground is. So, that's the perspective from which you have to land that aircraft. You can't land it at your fanny. You got to land it at 30 feet below your fanny. You got to get used to that because you're not at wheel level. You're at the top of the airplane, almost the top. So that's what flight training is all about. You have to have a comprehension for where too low is. Anyway, this way. We come back to the New York Post. The horror in the sky. Jet airline and a Black Hawk chopper in a deadly crash over the Potomac. When this was written, this is a Thursday evening edition. They recovered 18 bodies. Here we are Monday morning. I think they got 45 bodies at this point. That's why you got these ambulances running, back and forth. So at the time of this writing, they had recovered 18 bodies. So right now it's over somewhere around 45. Hopefully today they recover all 64 bodies. Yeah. If they didn't die from the explosion and the falling aircraft pieces, most of the bodies were strapped in the seats. You hit that cold water, you got about 10 minutes, and I'll tell you what, your body just cramps up pretty good. You got 10 more minutes, and then you're dead. It's because your body can't stand. Water temperature is 37 degrees? Last week, Washington was like plus 7 degrees. Yeah. There's some ice on the Potomac. There's still ice on the Potomac. It doesn't warm up that fast. Collision course. That's I cut off the top of this one. This is probably the next day. One air traffic controller was doing the job of two. He's talking to the chopper on one frequency and the American Airlines on another frequency. Black Hawk was too high. Didn't follow instructions from the tower, apparently. What? It's a training exercise, and they're not doing what the tower says? How do you not do that? Now let's see. Wreckage from the commercial flight from Wichita lies in the Potomac after colliding with an Army Black Hawk helicopter Wednesday night. Officials and experts pointed to a string of errors that led to a deadly disaster not happened since 2001. Ooh. This is 2025. That's 14 years later. Well, they had a good record until Wednesday night. The helicopter was flying too high. Two choices. Slow down or stop your forward speed or change direction. You got to do something, buddy. You're on a collision course. And then it went boom. So the plane is flying right at the cameraman, so to speak, because you can see the brightness of his runway light that he has right on the front landing gear. About halfway up, there's a light bulb. And he flips that on when he's landing. And it's a 1,000,000 candle power at least. It's a bright light. Yeah. Draws a lot of power from the battery. About 20 amps, I think. I had one. I put one in my car. Yeah. And I mounted a switch. I had to put a special switch. I had to wire it directly to the battery and to this special switch. And, you know, if you're riding on a highway and you want a little extra reach, you know, on a big straight, I flipped this thing on and it was like laser light. Oh my God. You don't want to have that light on when you got opposing traffic, because it'll blind them for sure. So I'd only turn it on if I was unopposed, didn't have any traffic running in the opposite direction. Yeah, it was just for funsies. It was 1,000,000 candle power aircraft landing light. You know, it cost me $10 or something like that. I wired it myself. Yeah. Yeah. That was funsies. The shoulder petite is a tender piece of meat, almost like a fillet. Incredibly tender. It's cut from the cow's shoulder. A section known for working hard. It's cut from a section of the shoulder that doesn't get much action. As a result, it's naturally tender and full of flavor. Nice. texture that resembles much more expensive cuts, like the filet mignon. That's the whole piece right there. So you cut, 3/4 inch steaks out of that. And, the tips on each side you saute. But these pieces in the middle, you cut, as steaks. So you get 3 or 4 going out. About a third of the way in each direction. Yeah, you cut steaks out of that section. And the rest of this on the both ends, you then dice up into 1-inch squares. Saute them separately. Yeah. Pour it over some warmed up pasta. Makes a great little stroganoff with no gravy. Just a little, the oil and seasoning that was sprinkled on the meat. Yeah. Italian seasoning. With the olive oil that comes right off of the saute pan. Ooh, that'd be so good. And for the high-priced dishes, you take 2 of the middle steaks. They'd be about this big. About that big, yeah. Yeah. 3/4 inch. Probably get 2 or 3 steaks out of this middle section right there. Yeah. Pan sear those. If the meat is at room temperature, and you sear them up really fast on each side, maybe 20 seconds a side, in a hot pot, hot saute pan. Then get them off the heat. Let them sit for about 30 seconds. Put them right on the serving plate. Put them right on top of some warmed up pasta. Yeah. That's how you deal with that one. That just came out of nowhere. No particular order. So, these guys are going through their hearings. This guy is very comfortable in his own skin. Yeah. Patel is cool and calm. There he is again. Cash Patel. I spoke to one of my FBI retired friends, female FBI agent. She is delighted with this guy coming into the FBI. She said, you'll see a lot of FBI people that took early retirement. They'll come back in with this guy in charge. Because he'll set a whole new tone. He'll get rid of the 7th floor of the building. Just get rid of all of them. There are 8 or 10 of them up there. Just clean house. Yep. And elevate, go down below that rank to the next rank of people. And if you know some folks, bring them up. There's a picture of a lion getting struck by a buffalo. Yeah, you don't want to get butted by the top of the head and those. Yeah. He definitely has some, if he survives that hit. That cat is going to need some medication. Tesla stock somehow rises despite the big earnings mess. Wall Street looks at all the numbers, this and that, and they basically decide how much earnings, from their own dark suite, they decide what earnings that Tesla should have. I mean, it had explosive growth. It's like, you got to be kidding. In the last 6 or 7 years, every year is 50% more of everything. Sales, earnings, whatever. But after a while, you slow that growth slows down, either because of economic, turns in the economy. With interest rates where they are, it'll slow down the economy for sure. And you're teetering on the edge of recession this year. So there'll have to be some hyper actions coming out of the White House to slow down the recession or eliminate it altogether. Companies like Tesla, they're gearing up to keep up with expectations, because Elon has a habit of setting pretty high expectations. Yeah. There we go. I'm fully charged. I have a rapid charger here. I put a piece of black gaffer's tape on the convex face of this charger, which fits underneath there on the watch, just so it's not quite so slippery. So when it's on there, you can give it a tug and it won't pop off. It won't slide quite as well. Anyway, so it's amazing. In 40 minutes, the watch goes from 5% charge to 100%. Whoops. My passcode on my watch. So you're going to hear a lot about that crash today, now that everyone has reviewed all the news results of yesterday. Decide what the hell you're going to say today. Right smack in the middle of this whole Washington, D.C. thing. Terrible. Simultaneously, these guys are getting grilled in the Senate hearings. So Trump is basically saying, hurry the hell up. I need my team in place. There's stuff going on. And I want my team in place. And he's only got half his team that's been confirmed so far. Yeah. But they're doing, I listened to a couple of, I saw some reels, news reels on how she has responded to certain questions. You know, she's a tough cookie, you know. She hasn't done anything wrong, you know, they're just senators get on their high horses. And she rides in on her white horse, and they're trying to knock her off the horse. You know, the idea is to win, you know, the confirmation. Let them win. You win the confirmation. So you're not going to get all the senators. A couple of them are going to get peeled off. Hopefully not 4. You can live with 3 being peeled off, and then you have, you know, Hegseth come, or not Hegseth. You would have the vice president. Come in and break the tie, which he's done already. He already broke the tie once for Hegseth. But you can, you know, if they lose 4 senators, then he has to break the tie. Because the tie loses. Yeah. Deutsche Bank says they're sticking with their policy, which includes DEI stuff. But most of the other major banks have dropped, you know, these kinds of factors with regard to your hiring or rehiring people. Yeah. He's signing executive orders like crazy. He signed 350 executive orders. He looks at his lawyer and he looks down at his notes. Says, do I need an executive order for this? Or can we take a recent vote? You know, Bill Cassidy is a doctor, so he listens to RFK Jr. and how he responds to certain questions. And they're both pretty stoic in this picture. Not giving away, you know, how whether RFK's got his vote or not. They're looking at each other pretty sternly. I don't think you can get more sternly look than that. Steely-eyed. They're looking right at each other. Hopefully, yeah. RFK. is a very cognitive Health and Human Services appointee. And Cassidy is, a cognitive senator from Louisiana, I believe. And he'll push RFK Jr. They all have certain limits that they can live with. You don't get everything. You get most of what you want. But if you don't survive the appointment, because you got to get confirmed. You don't get confirmed, you're toast. You're done. You're out of the ball game. So it's important to shake his hand and let him know that you agree with his basic position. Period. You only get a few words. It's like half an elevator speech. When you're shaking hands, this is the end. It's the end of debating with this guy. Yeah. See how that one goes. Their fast news conference. All these people are stuffed in there. Unbelievable. Standing room only. Every time Trump opens his mouth. Whew. Trump? This is written from a CNN writer. Trump steamrolls every principle of aviation safety. In a wild news conference. There should be a comma right there. Trump steamrolls every principle of aviation safety in a wild news conference. Okay. It'll be interesting to see when the Secretary of Education gets confirmed. So far, not confirmed. Let's see here what our confirmation schedules are. There it is. So we got number 8 confirmed. The Secretary of the Interior. Oh, looking down The FBI position requires confirmation, but is not considered a cabinet level position. Yeah, we got it done. Linda McMahon, Secretary of Education. So she's going to be supervising the de-escalation of the Secretary of Education. I think the only one we can add to the people that are confirmed is number 8. Until I hear of exactly who else. So we can go ahead and do an edit to this. Pick the pen. Let's select green. There we go. Then we come up to Doug Burgum. Reverse pinch. Reverse pinch. There we go. And we'll just do a little. Yeah. Done. All right. So I heard his name called out as being confirmed. So Pam Bondi. Attorney General, we haven't got that one confirmed yet. We have to figure out what's going on with U.S. Senate confirmation hearings. Are they keeping them over the weekend to get some more confirmed here? They're being presented to the Senate in order of magnitude for U.S. safety and security. Yeah. It's all very well thought out on the order of events. Let's get the pen active again. Let's just make this paintball a little bigger. Yeah. Done. There we go. Sean Duffy had a little tiny dot. Make bigger dots. Trump is going to send 30,000 illegal migrants to Gitmo. Yeah, so from there, they'll sort them out and fly them back to their country. But get them out of our country ASAP. Gitmo's been around for 100 years, you know, so it'll hold 30,000. And the Secretary of Defense actually had a tour of duty at Gitmo, so he knows the facility well. Yeah, get these suckers down there in the tropics. Let them sweat there. It's not air conditioned. Okay, done. There we go. So that's all the excitement that we can do with the green dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9. We got 9 of 18. We're at the halfway point. The Democrats are trying to, interfere with the government in place. Sore losers is what I would call them, because they lost a pretty, I would call it a very decisive victory. He won all the swing states by a reasonable margin. And he blew past his Democratic opponent, by 2.8 million votes in the overall, which doesn't, that's like, how many base hits did you get in a baseball game? It doesn't matter. You keep track of the number. It's how many home runs you got. Home runs is what wins ball games. Yep. A similar thing with, the U.S. elections. Doesn't matter, you put up a good fight and all this other stuff. Anyway, so we're halfway there with confirmations on cabinet level positions. The director of the FBI is a confirmed, requiring confirmation by the Senate, but it's not a cabinet level position. Wouldn't hurt. I'd elevate it, but Trump is to elevate it is requires more Senate approvals. We got enough of them. Jeez. Yeah. How does birthright citizenship in the U.S. compare to the rest of the world? No one's doing what we're doing. Yeah, that's one reason why to get rid of it. The fallback position would be, all right, birthright citizenship for the offspring only. Nothing with the mother, nothing with the father, and the grandparents and uncles and all that. Just the kid. Mom, you don't like it? You and your kid can go back to your native country. Yep, we'll help you back. And they tried to get Hegseth on his wife that he was divorcing. An unredacted affidavit contains previously unreported allegations about Pete Hegseth's behavior towards his second wife. Says. So. Yeah. Can't take your call now, Judy, and I'll call you back. Oh, crap. They don't got that. President Trump is going to cut the capital gains tax. You know what that does? That makes it such that Wall Street can sell off some of their big gains and with a lower tax. So you got a smaller tax, but you get a lot more capital gains activity. Yep, good move. So we got this Panama business. I don't know if Rubio is still down there or not. Banging on some of these officials and also running around the Panama Canal to see how it works. He's bilingual, so you can understand the language down there. The 5 states Americans are moving to, have moved to in last year. Well, they left California, and they left New York, and they went to Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. A lot of New York people came to Florida. But some of them moved to Texas and California, mostly Florida. Those are the big. In California, there's a shortage of U-Haul vans. So people that want to move out of California to parts elsewhere have to wait online. So that these trailers or trucks will come back to California, on a round trip from someone else. So it's hard to get a U-Haul truck to go out because so many people are. It's like 500,000 or 600,000 people left the state last year. I think 600,000 or so. And a little less than that from New York State. Both states have 13% state tax. Now, the IRS allows you to deduct a certain amount of your state taxes on your federal return. It's called the SALT. But there are limitations. Trump is threatening tariffs on their oil. So, when the Keystone Pipeline comes around to being finished, which is not finished yet, and I wonder if he signed an executive order to create the required permits to finish, because Biden took back all the permits, so it couldn't be completed. So now Trump has to re-sign the permits, so Canada can ship its crude down to the United States refineries. Mind-blowing features you won't believe that are going to be in iOS 19. And they got a leak from somewhere on what they think that's going to be. Refining the user interface. Sure, there's a lot of, they usually do this to the end. We have redesigned camera app. See right here. The camera app is pretty good. They're going to do more than that. The question is, will they? Well, iPhone 16. Will they change iPhone 17 to have a 10x optical zoom instead of 5x optical zoom? That would be unbelievable. You know, digital zoom, you can get there, but it causes a certain amount of pixelation when you go past. You know, if you try to go to 20x, so that's 10x on the optical zoom, and then you need another, doubling of that to get to 20x. That's when things start getting pixelated. Yeah. Need some more optical zoom. So they went to 18, 17 or 18. That'd be something. But they're probably going to want to get to, instead of 5x to 10x. They can do that. Yeah. They already have cameras out there in the wild from these software engineers to experiment with the 20x, 10x optical. Yeah. They're saying that in this article, they're saying that the new Tesla Model Y, codenamed Juniper, is $12,000 more expensive than the current generation. I don't know if that's true. Let's go to the Tesla company, not the Tesla app. This is live television, folks. So stay standing around. Alright, let's do this one to begin with. There we go. Oops. Never mind. I have a password problem. Issue. I don't want to waste your time. Well, I forgot how to log into that site. I've been there before, and, but I may have been on this one. Not that computer, but this one. You can't see this one unless I just turn the. This one is actually, logged in directly into the server, which goes into the streaming port. Yep, we are streaming. We're an hour and 44 minutes, so I will stop talking, let you go for lunch. It's Friday. Probably got lunch reservations somewhere nice. In the meantime, I will stop the chat and speak to you. I don't know what's going on this weekend. Monday for sure. 9, somewhere between 9 and 9:15. That's a promise. Okay. Be there or be square. Yep. So, I have to begin the sign-out process, which means I got to get back to here. Oops. Go to the bottom, I guess, of this. Yeah. Come back here to the very first. Anyway, we got to have that one. It's always at the beginning and the end of every broadcast that I can think of. I've got hundreds of them. Yeah. You can search with the handle. Remember? @ FAU. The number 4U. FAU for you. That gets us into Twitter and Facebook Live. No, it gets you into YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Twitter, it's some other Jim W, capital J, capital W, 5596. A silly name. But FAU for you is with Twitter also, but they suspended my account indefinitely, and they won't tell me why. I violated one of the rules. I think it's a careless mistake of some sort, maybe by the Twitter people, the Elon Musk people now. And you can't get a hold of anybody to talk to anybody. Just ask the question, tell me what I did wrong, and let me fix it. It's probably already fixed. Maybe because I use this royalty-free music, and you have to announce, that it's royalty-free Epidemic Sound instrumental. They've removed the copyright, so anybody can use it for any reasonable purpose. It's 3 hours and 1 minute long. So it outplays my broadcast by at least a half hour. I don't think I've gone 3 hours of yakking. I might have, maybe one time. Yeah. All right, folks. You have a good day.